So, our next session is titled the Pacific Rim Parks City Members Conference. And following our previous session with the Global Peace Cities Solidarity, we continue on with the city members. And now, first and foremost, we have a presentation that will be delivered. So please welcome Mr. Kyle Bergman, the president of Pacific Rim Parks. He will deliver our keynote address. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause on the screen.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I would like to thank Governor Wong Hoon Ring and the Jeju Special Self-Governing Province for hosting the 16th Jeju Forum for Peace and Prosperity. Your continuing efforts and commitment to this important forum highlight Jeju Island as a global leader in helping to establish peace throughout the world. In 1994, the Pacific Rim started its efforts to try and make city-to-city connections to foster peace. It was started by a group of artists, architects, educators, and community leaders from San Diego and Vladivostok who were frustrated that our government leaders in America and Russia were leaning more towards war than peace. During the presidency of Ronald Reagan, many of us in San Diego were afraid that if there was a war, the military cities of San Diego and Vladivostok would try to destroy each other. At the same time, Mikhail Gorbachev, the former president of the Soviet Union, began his Perestroika program. This created an opening for the Pacific Rim Parks project. I want to acknowledge two people who began this adventure in fostering peace and made Pacific Rim Park possible. First, Gennady Termov, who was a former Russian naval officer who became the president of the Far Eastern State Technical University in Vladivostok. Sadly, Gennady Termov passed away this year. He was a great fighter for peace and humanity. The other person, James Hubble, an artist and humanitarian from San Diego. And without the initial effort and vision of these two people, Pacific Rim Park would have never started. In a meeting in 1992, Jim and Gennady and others had this idea that as citizens, if we got to know each other and work together, we would begin to build friendship and trust. They decided that we should build a park in Vladivostok with the involvement of students from different countries. Soil and Soul Park was the first Pacific Rim Park. It was built in Vladivostok in 1994 on a site at the Far Eastern State University, the largest university in Eastern Russia. The university gave PRP a great location at the top of the city's beautiful funicular station, overlooking the entire port of Vladivostok. One of the amazing things that happened during its building was when Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the world-renowned Nobel Prize-winning Russian author and political dissident, returned to Russia after 20 years in exile, and Vladivostok was his entry point. During his short stay in Vladivostok, he came to our construction site to talk with us because he liked seeing Russian and American students working together. It was an early sign that the park touched people's imagination. 27 years later, the all-volunteer Pacific Rim Park Network is strong and moving forward with our commitment to connecting cities and people around the Pacific. As we come out of this pandemic, we are exploring new cities around the Pacific to become part of our Pacific Rim family. Our mission of directly connecting people in cities around the Pacific to foster peaceful relations is working at three different levels. First, we bring an international team of 30 to 40 college-age students together for 1 month to design and build a park together. Over the years, more than 250 students have participated in this intense architectural and cultural immersion process. These groups built strong international connections that have lasted a generation already. We expect these friendships to last a lifetime. Like the successful US program called the Peace Corps, the impact of Pacific Rim Park projects on a student has a rippling effect on the rest of that person's life. Students who worked on the early parks are now in their mid-40s and are becoming community leaders, business leaders, teachers, and influencers in their own cities and networks. The potential influence of the Pacific Rim Park program is hard to quantify, but once a student goes through the program, their worldview is forever changed. Second, the Pacific Rim Park brings together a diverse group of people and organizations within a community that do not always get along together. Over the years, we have learned that having many different groups come together to support the construction of a park is better than having a single supporter of each park. The park does not belong to a specific group or another, but belongs to a wide range of people who have helped make the park's creation possible. Each time we start the process of building a park in a new city, it takes years. We work hard to try to bring together a unique and diverse group to build a park together. Not every group has the same reason for being involved in the process. This is actually a strength of each project. In this respect, PRP has the advantage of being an all-volunteer organization that must work together with a diverse group of universities, governments, and non-governmental agencies in order to build trust and friendship. The power of architecture to create something that can last a generation or more is critical. Building something on the scale of a park that can be revisited over and over again allows communities to continue to come together in peace and cooperation long after the park is built. Third, each Pacific Rim Park highlights the way the world is connected. We talk about the Pacific Ocean as a natural element that connects all of us rather than divides. PRP's environmental and cultural message emphasize that what we do is part of a huge ocean, that what we do in one part of this huge ocean affects all of us. Each park and each city we connect with are all directly on the Pacific, and we share the ocean. So we must cooperate. It's part of our DNA of the Pacific Rim Parks. In this past year, the brutal pandemic has made us even more aware of how interconnected everything on our globe is. And what happens in one part of the world affects all citizens on our planet. Pacific Rim Park's mission is to help remind and reinforce this in a positive way. Our mission of building peace through building parks is more important than ever. Thank you all very much for joining this session, and thanks everyone who has ever been involved in the Pacific Rim Park project. Thank you.
Thank you for that great message. Especially at the end, you said that you're building peace through building parks. I could not agree more with that comment. Thank you very much for the keynote. And now I'd like to turn your attention to the screen once again for a video message delivered by Chairman James Hubble of the Ilan Lyell Foundation. And he is the one who initiated and successfully led the Pacific Rim Parks project. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him on screen.
Hi, I'm Jim Hubble. I wish to thank the Jeju Forum for inviting us to participate in the virtual forum. It is an honor. I believe Korea has a crucial role to play in the Pacific. I would like to tell a story. We did our first park in Vladivostok, Russia in 1994. The second park was completed in San Diego. I believe that Vladivostok shares a border with China, just as San Diego shares a border with Mexico. And over the years, misunderstandings have arisen. We decided to invite Chinese students from Yantai, as well as students from Vladivostok, students from Mexico and the U.S. to build the park together. Because of visa problems, the Chinese students were late in arriving. There was not the friendship between the Chinese and Russian students, just as there sometimes is misunderstanding between San Diego and Tijuana. It so happened that the students were all housed in UCSD dorm. One of the Mexican students, Hani, took it upon herself to have all the students meet for breakfast in her room. It was called Hani's Cafe. And it melted the walls between the Russians and the Chinese. So much so that the night we finished work on the park, on a bench overlooking the Pacific, an American student, a Vladivostok student, and a Yantai student sat with their arms around each other's shoulders. I imagine they were dog tired, but now they were part of the Pacific family. Students can teach us that not only do we need each other, the gifts of each other, but that we are a Pacific family. We can also trust life if we can seek balance together. The yin and the yang is real. Thank you for giving it to us.
Thank you once again, Chairman Hubble, for that very touching message, as well as the anecdote of the different students from the United States, Vladivostok, and Yantai. I think that we can all take a good cue and a message from that experience. Well, now moving on to our next agenda item, allow me to invite our moderator as well as discussants onto the stage. The first is a former chairman of Jeju Island of World Peace Citizens Association, Mr. Seongjun Ko, who will be our moderator. Please give him a big round of applause as he enters the stage. And also, thank you. Please welcome Professor Keun-hyung Kang to the stage. And previously, Professor Kang taught at Jeju National University. And as a representative of Jeju, he was actively involved in the construction of the park. 네, 이제 두 분 무대 위로 모셨는데요. 준비가 다 되시는 대로 바로 마이크 넘기도록 하겠습니다. As soon as they are ready, 마이크 켜주시면 되겠습니다.
Would you turn on your microphone, please?
감사합니다.
Thank you.
그러면 시작하겠습니다. 예. 소개해 주셔서 감사합니다.
Thank you for the kind introduction. As you saw, the topic of the session is Pacific Rim Parks City Members Conference. So we have this conference as a consultation party where all the member cities are gathered and have discussion together. And Mr. Kyle Bergman explained how this project was started and what kind of progress we have made. To briefly put the project again, so it was started in 1994 in Vladivostok, and in 2018 we have established the second one in Yantai. And also we have established 8 parks in the Pacific Rim region. Our target is to establish parks in 41 cities. Like a pearl necklace, we are going to make a series of projects going forward. And our special speaker for the day, Mr. James Herbell, he also participated in the project architecture. As a renowned architect, when I went to San Diego, I realized Mr. Herbell is such an artist, not just an architect. He's not designing brand new buildings, but he's focusing on the restoration of existing old churches and other old buildings. And while he was serving for the military, he felt a serious impact of war. And I heard that he adopted a Korean orphan and raised successfully. And in order to make sure such tragedy is not repeated, he started this project by inviting young people from this region. So, as an architect, he started the project based on a small park. So, the first park was constructed in a small town in Vladivostok, far east from the US. And in this park, a number of college students were gathered and enjoyed the landscape. And also Tijuana college students and Russian college students have gathered there. And they made their own project, which was lasted for a month. And secondly, they went to San Diego and to Tijuana and Yantai and so on. But this year we did not make it because of the pandemic. And we also participated in the process as well. So the city members conference we are having here means that taking this opportunity, taking Jeju Forum as an opportunity, we have continued discussion together in order to continue our solidarity based on the value of peace. So while the Pacific Rim Parks project was started by San Diego, but the continuation of the project has been driven by Jeju province. I can confidently say that way. And now, I'd like to invite our theme speaker. So, on behalf of former President Gorbachev, Ms. Yekaterina Jaguladina read the speech on behalf of former President Gorbachev. Right after the former president won the Nobel Prize, she organized the Permanent Secretariat of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates in order to succeed at the spirit of peace that was announced by the laureates around the world. I'd like to invite her first and then for her theme speech and then move on to discussion together with the city members. Welcome, Ms. Yekaterina.
Dear participants, distinguished guests, dear host, Mr. Governor of Jeju Special Self-Governing Province 1 hearing. On behalf of the Permanent Secretariat of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates, I warmly greet you. I am delighted to be today at Jeju Forum, a recognized event for its peacemaking culture and its peace messages. This is the occasion where two important initiatives are marked: Global Peace City Solidarity and Pacific Rim Park. Both serve not only as a connection where peoples and cultures meet and enrich each other with their diversity, but also are a symbol of new friendship promoting peace in the region. Such networks are so important nowadays to talk about peace, to work for peace, to move towards peace. The principles of cooperation, coexistence, humanitarian approaches promoted by these initiatives are crucial nowadays in order to have faith not only in a better future but also in a better present. This has a profound meaning that goes beyond debates, speeches, and statements. Such cooperation for peace means the understanding that all human beings are one, and that we are responsible for each other. Such cooperation for peace means the work to reduce poverty and inequality and eradicate all forms of violence. Such cooperation for peace means to live spiritually, thoroughly understanding that we are transcendent beings and that our thoughts, words, and actions affect our fellow men and women, our environment, and the entire universe. Such cooperation for peace means working for the evolution of our species, not only towards higher level of physical well-being, but mainly towards an enlightened awareness where love, forgiveness, and oneness can be true. Such cooperation for peace means committing ourselves to continue moving along the path that our ancestors traveled and paving the way that our children will walk. Before them, our ancestors and our children, we must be accountable. Because this life, the brief gap between birth and death, is alone from the past and is alone from the future, that we must pay with peace actions in the present. Such cooperation for peace means finally the understanding that we are not only one as human beings, but we are also one with all living creatures and with nature, who accompany us and sustain us in this vital journey. That is why we must take care of Earth and living beings living on it. That is why we must respect and honor them. Mother Earth is sick because we throw away our mental garbage and our physical garbage. Mother Earth is charged with negative energies because many continue to believe in the power of weapons and intimidation. The world we have is the product of our thoughts, which become words, intentions, and finally actions. If we have thoughts of fear, the result will be fear and violence. If we have thoughts of love, the result will be peace and harmony. That is why we have to take care of what we think, what we say, and what we do. Because on this depends the survival of our species and the planet. Today we know that there is a solution that can be built together. Let's purify our thoughts and actions. Let's evolve from inside, and we will see the effects here and throughout the universe. The first contamination we must fight is the contamination of fear, the contamination of hate, the contamination of exclusion and separation. Because before contamination, we had love, we had empathy and kindness. That is our essence. The time has come for us to embark on the path of return to our true being, to our pure and peaceful soul. To that, I invite you today from the bottom of my heart to assume the commitment to make peace a way of life, the only one that can save us from destruction and lead us to more pure states of consciousness. The inner peace that becomes external peace, the peace that elevates the vibrations of the humanity, the planet, and the universe, the peace that can and should be built through peace education and the promotion of a culture of peace. The debates, the exchange of ideas, the declarations are important. They are positive products of the mind and serve as inspiration. But there is something even more important that I would like to highlight. The present meeting, where we talk about peace and love, is a source of energy that helps raise the consciousness of humanity and the state of our planet. Such gatherings are important as we learn from those who had the core courage to turn fear into love, resentment into forgiveness, war into peace. Thank you very much, everyone, for contributing your energy to avoid the suicide of the humanity. We are still on time. It's not a utopia. It's not a fantasy of imagination. It is possible, and it is very possible if we join our strength and if we are willing to transform our thoughts and finally the way we live. Thank you.
자글라디아의 얘기 중에 여러분이나 저나 공감하는 건 평화를 지키고 평화를 만들어야 된다 하는 얘기고.
We need to keep the peace and we need to create peace together, like Ms. Ekaterina Jaglanina said. So now I'd like to invite all the participants and the project of Pacific Rim Parks. So today's session is connection between these member cities. And we'd like to know what kind of events you are conducting at the moment in relation to peacemaking. And it would be appreciated if you can share your ideas with us. First, as Mr. James Herbel and Mr. Kyle Bergman explained, the establishment of this project was done by many people. But this effort was based on Ilan Lael Foundation. They have made multiple activities, and one of the projects is PRP project. So as explained before, they have made 8 parks. And I believe this person is working on the operation of these parks. Let me invite Marianne Garidas. It's midnight in San Diego.
Okay, please.
Marianne, please make your remarks, please.
Hi, Marianne. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Professor Ko. Good morning.
Yeah. 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 Nice to meet you
Thank
again.
you for inviting me here.
Okay.
It is an honor to be here on behalf of the Alon Lael Foundation. Our program, the Pacific Rim Park, is a very important activity for our organization, and we have great support in our Alon Lael community for the work of the park. So it is a great honor for me to be able to speak to you on that topic today. We are very excited to share with the group that we are involved in an exhibition of James Hubble's artwork that is going to be opening in the city of Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico, in July of this year. And in that exhibition, a great portion of that exhibition is about Pacific Rim Park and the many decades that James has devoted to the park project. In this exhibition, we are focusing on James's work in Mexico. But as he mentioned in his story that he told on video earlier, that park and on all the other parks were constructed by a team of architecture students from all over the Pacific Rim. And so they are all being featured in this exhibition that will be seen binationally here in San Diego and Tijuana. So we are very excited to share that with the group. We had in San Diego, the pandemic year has been a challenging one, but we are emerging from that now and making plans for new activities that engage our community and will bring them together to celebrate the peace for which the parks promote. We have plans for events in the coming months to re-energize our community and excite them about the potential of the parks. We are also actively speaking and searching for new park sites. And I will let Mr. Kyle Bergman talk more about that activity, but those works are underway. So Pacific Rim Park is very much alive and vibrant in San Diego, and I'm happy to report.
메리안 감사합니다.
Thank you, Marianne. And due to the pandemic, we believe that we are now about to put an end to the era of pandemic from the US perspective, and we believe that more Pacific Rim parks would be established around the world, hopefully. Now, let's invite the second speaker of the session, who is in Russia, Vladivostok. Ms. Arina Mizabich, please make your remarks. You are a renowned architect, and you have been involved from the Tijuana Park project from the year of 2004. At that time, you are a student studying architecture, and when we were establishing the park in Jeju Island, you also participated as a graduate school student. So it's really delighted to meet you virtually again. And I would like to know about the current status of the Vladivostok Park.
Hi. Thank you to invitation me for Jeju As my friends from Pacific Rim family said that Vladivostok Park was the first, and he was very important and was like a kind beginning to our big family when our family started. But for today, to our deepest regret, the first park of Pacific Rim, has been destroyed. It's very sad news, and we have worked hard before to find a way to save it, but situation with land lease and federal lands sale and federal property were resolved, and the level of heads of state within the framework of Russian legislation, and since the park was only part of the university after the auction and sale and the old university building, the adjustment territory, the city transferred all the ownership rights to Moscow, and site have a new status of federal land. So from this time, the new construction project and the customers took into the new projects our idea to wish and save the park as a symbol of friendship. But according to the latest adjustment into the project, they start to make fire road like a circular road through the site and demolished our monument. So the park was gone. It was absolutely sad, but we was lucky and managed to get in touch with managers of construction site on a time and did not officially visited the site. We agreed to remove some fragments of monument from close construction site. This is, we have some piece of tiles from a pearl and several stones. So now we save this piece, and we trying to come back for the site, for the construction site, and maybe we will have a piece of memorial board of our old park. But our group of Russian friends and our Pacific Rim friends have a conversation about the futures. So we have the plan to build a new park in Vladivostok. We're trying to stay kindness and happy, and we're thinking about the new park to make near the campus in a new area where the new university located in Russian island. So we started to have a conversation with Ilya Yesenkov from university, and we stay in a positive mood. We have great potential to promote our idea to build a new park with the inclusion of pearl artifacts that we have managed and saved. We hope that will be a memory, and maybe it will be a new age and new start of our friendship, and maybe our international friendship, we hope, will be continue with good neighbors and our international relationships. Thank you.
Thank you.
잠깐만 소개를 하면 이 블라디보스톡의 공원은
So this park located in Vladivostok was the first one we established back in 1994 within the space of college. With urban development, this college was relocated to others, but in the process, this park had to be rebuilt. No, that's the current situation. We need to rebuild the park. But as a student, she participated in the construction of a Pacific Rim Park in Vladivostok, and after that, she participated in other projects. She also visited Jeju and stayed for a month. So I think she is quite willing to expand this project, and I believe she is a great architect as well, actively working as an architect. And she is so eager to participate in the reconstruction of Vladivostok Park as well. Thank you. So let me introduce a third speaker. Moving on to Tijuana in Mexico, we have Cristobal Gonzalez, who is quite young architect. So he's based in San Diego as well as Tijuana. Mr. Gonzalez was also also engaged in the project of Jeju Pacific Rim Park construction. I was impressed by his sense of ownership when he participated in the project.
Hello, you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, go on.
Hello, I'm Cristobal Gonzalez from Pacific Rim Park. First, I want to thank the organizers, my fellow speakers, and everybody who is watching. So I'm going to briefly tell you about what we have been doing at Pacific Rim Park Tijuana after our last meeting at Jeju back in 2019. We returned home, and first we made a couple of visits to the park in collaboration with some of the Pacific Rim Park ex-alumni from San Diego and Tijuana that participated in the construction of the Tijuana Park back in 2004. Together with the new students from the two universities that have been actively involved through the years with Pacific Rim Park, we gather in the park, and mainly to do some site cleaning, maintenance work, and some small repairs to the tile and the walls. One of the fortunes and misfortunes with our Tijuana Pacific Rim Park, entre Corazón y Mar, or in English, between heart and sea, is that it is located in what it is considered part of Mexican federal land. And the agency in charge of the site with the name CAPUFE, which means Caminos y Puentes Federales, or in English, Federal Roads and Bridges of Mexico. In recent years, they made some repairs to the road around the site. Basically, they elevated the height of the road pavement around the park. Fortunately, this blocks some of the viewpoints of the park towards the ocean. But this is giving us the opportunity to create new work and maybe add a new viewpoint, new design elements. And this is what we've been concentrating our efforts on with the architectural students of the Instituto Tecnológico de Tijuana. After that, we organized an on-site workshop, a full day of design with the new students, where they did a survey, sketches, design new elements, and proposed a new viewpoint towards the ocean. Then they went back to their school and kept working and refining the ideas for the whole semester as an additional extra class. Now, I believe they are working with the school administration in trying to incorporate this design and build class into their school curriculum. Another interesting news from our park in Tijuana is that somehow it grabbed the attention of a private organization that is in charge of promoting the tourism, not only in the city of Tijuana, but in the whole state of Baja California. They make installations or sculptures where visitors can take pictures and post it in social media, or similar to a photo booth. With the help of the students from the architectural department of Tijuana, they are coordinating this design effort, choosing the location of this art piece as part of the new master plan of the park. Now, all this work I have mentioned had happened in slow motion because the pandemic. Tijuana is still struggling with lots of COVID-19 cases, although vaccines are already undergoing in the zone. But one of the bad parts also is that the international border between US and Mexico is closed for non-essential crossing since March 2020. And still, authorities are talking about a possible full reopening on July 21st if the number of COVID cases continues in decrease or stabilize. Thank you.
네, 반가운 소식 감사합니다. 아무튼 멕시코 티juana 환태평양 공원을 더욱 발전시키려고 하는 이 곤잘레스 건축가의 노력에 감사를 드립니다.
In Tijuana, and now let me invite the speaker from Yantai, China. Today, Miss Won Hong, the chief of the Pacific Park in Yantai, China. Hi, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? I'm really delighted to have an opportunity like this to share our experiences in the Pacific Rim Park in Yantai. And I would like to thank all the panels and the moderator and the guests of today. I am responsible for the Pacific Park in Yantai. I am the director, and my name is Wan Hong. So for the 16th Jeju Forum for the Peace and Prosperity, I'm really delighted to participate as a panel. So this is only a virtual event, but I'm really delighted to meet you. And Pacific Rim Park, which is established in Yantai, was built in 2018. And as the moderator told us, the first trial was in a few years ago. However, we just selected a new site so that a better park would be established. And back in 2018, I remember it was July 11th. We just did a groundbreaking ceremony, and by 28th of July, the park was established. If you take a look at this picture of the Pacific Rim Park in Yantai, you can see the vice mayor of Yantai at that time. He also participated in the establishment project. At that time, the people from the US, the Philippines, and China, as well as Colombia, participated to support with their knowledge on architecture. So it was such a spatial site for the park. Please refer to the picture. This is the main architecture of the park. This shows the main theme of the park, and we have 3 parts for the Yantai Park. So here the area of the Pacific, and to contain the abundant meaning for the Pacific region, and to form a family of the 4 seas, we symbolized with this statue. So in the process, a lot of involved parties spared no effort for the success of the project. So a lot of donations were made regarding materials and the parts for the park, and even the citizens of the entire also joined in establishing this park. And I would like to share more picture of the park because it's really amazingly beautiful. On the process of establishing this park, I thought there had been a lot of unsung heroes during the project. There was a guy whose name was Alexander. He went to the deep sea area on a windy day in an urgent situation. He was about to drown. So when they found the person who's about to drown, without hesitation, the workers and the colleagues of the project decided to dive into the sea so that he would be saved. Even the chairman of the park mobilized a boat so that he would be saved, rescued. So there were 3 in water, and all 3 were saved. So 11 people participated in rescue, and the city government of Yantai gave them an award for brave foreigners. At that time, not only the city government but also other authorities paid attention for this beautiful anecdote of rescuing the anti-citizens by the foreigners. And there had been a lot of promotions. And during the construction period, there have been more adorable, touching anecdote. And regarding the hilly areas of the Pacific Rim part and the headquarters of the park, in collaboration with the San Diego Park and its counterpart in Vladivostok, we decided to even further strengthen the solidarity and collaboration between other parks of the world. So the San Diego park was the leading park, and as a present, they gave us a lot of roses, which symbolizes the friendship and the potential of the bilateral relations. So these roses and rose garden became the landmark of the park, which showcases the friendship between San Diego and Yantai. There are a lot of universities located in Yantai City, and we are collaborating with those schools. And students can participate in programs that we are operating now, and we are trying to sustain this type of efforts. Thank you for listening.
예, 완홍 국장님 감사합니다. 아무튼 그
Thank you, Ms. Wan Hong. I hope the newly created park in Yantai will give many opportunities to the citizens of Yantai to think about the real value of peace going forward. Thank you again. Now, we'd like to turn to the Pacific Rim Park located in Jeju, which is located in Sangbori in Jeju, and it was built in 2010. At that time, for a month, we struggled so hard, and it was only possible thanks to your support and participation. Today, we invited Mr. Kang Geun-hyung, and also he used to be a professor for Jeju University, Jeju National University. At the moment, he is cooperating with other working members of the foundation. Thank you for allowing me being here with you today. At that time, Professor Go was the chair of the Jeju International Consultation at that time. So, supported by the relevant department of the provincial office, we were able to build this beautiful park, landscaping the beautiful Sea of Pacific. So for a month, together with university students, we tried to build this park, and we invited students from Japan, the US, Seoul, and Russia. And thanks to the participation from college students, we were successfully able to make the park. And in most cases, it takes about 300 million won in order to construct such a park. But the private sector has provided many financial aid. If you visited the park, you must have recognized that it symbolizes pearl. So pearl is the symbol of the park. As Mr. Kyle Bergman and James Herbert mentioned, so it is located near the volcano, and also it symbolizes the beauty of pearl. Although this park is not huge, it can symbolize the cooperation and mutual understanding, which are the very basic of co-prosperity. In 2010, at that time, Jeju was already designated as the island of peace. With the construction of Pacific Rim Park, the image as peaceful city has all the more embedded into the park. So at that time, we used to call the park PRP. However, these days, people add peace whenever they call this park. And thanks to the achievement, we decided to make a Pacific Rim Parks City Members Conference. And also we agreed to establish the steering committee and regulations relevant for the operation of the conference. I think this park is playing a crucial role in the city members conference, which I feel very proud of. And since then, this park has been playing as a venue for students and families in the region. So it's a restful place as well. What I want from this park is that many say that Jeju Island is the bridge between different cities of the Pacific region. And I think the relevant department of the provincial office could provide trainings where we can understand the meaning and purpose of this PRP. So it was built only in a month, so it's not tremendous. People easily, people cannot recognize the existence of this park so easily because it's not that big park. So if the province could provide relevant training to the citizens, then I believe the meaning of the Pacific Rim Park will be all the more highlighted. And we can also encourage the tourists to Jeju Island to come to this park and also encourage students to visit this park as a experience camp or something like that. And the foundation of Jeju Memorial Business decided to construct a memorial tower here within the park. And I think this kind of project can also highlight the importance of the park. And lastly, we need to expand this project toward other Asian countries. I think Japan would be the most important destination for the project. As you all know, the US and China is in the middle of intense competition. But as you also know, China and US are also going through tensions these days. But in order to address these tensions, I think private sector's cooperation is the key. So in that regard, I think Japan is quite critical for this project as well. But we haven't built any park in Japan yet. So, for example, in Yokohama, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki, or Okinawa, these cities could be good destination for PRP as those cities symbolize the value of peace. And also, the Rotary Club, according to my understanding, has provided financial aid. And also, I believe other cities have their own financial assistance system from the private sector. So in collaboration with these other private organizations, I believe we can adapt to more large-scale projects and also consider collaboration with Japan. Going forward, we can expand this park toward Indonesia, Malaysia, and other Asian countries. So Jeju, I believe, has much capability to evolve further. So, and also this PRP corresponds well with the image of Jeju as peaceful city. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Kang. He explained about the beauty of Jeju PRP, and also he shared good idea in order for the development of PRP project. Lastly, in relation to Kaohsiung Park, I'd like to invite Eugenia Wang from Taiwan. She studied architect in the US and also management as well, and she also studied in China. Nice to meet you, Eugenia Wang.
Hi there. So I was part of the Kaohsiung PRP. I just kind of want to share my personal experience and then what I got out of it. So when I started the park, I actually had no idea what I got myself into. And then years later now, I think it was a turning point for me. So I kind of want to carry that experience, since peace and love is through accepting differences, and unfortunately not that many people in Taiwan have that chance to understand there's a lot of different cultures out there. So through this experience, I feel like in the future what we can do is carry that process of helping people to understand when there's differences, it's okay. So later on with the park, and I would like to probably promote something that's related and bring back the students, bring back people who I worked with at the park, and maybe we can start repairing. Actually the park, it's part of a bigger park. It's in good condition, and what I'm hoping is we can use that as a starting point to reconnect people, because it's been a while already. And if we can reconnect the group and then starting to have more students or more local people to get involved, then we can have to promote some sort of organization with the government as well, because it's kind of got lost in the wave, since it's the pandemic, and then there's political differences. But then through that, I think students will really appreciate to get involved, maybe in the other countries, or if there's a new part that's going on somewhere else, we can let more people to know about the idea, and maybe get to let them to know that there are opportunities out there, and then we can reunite and have a better world. That is basically it.
유진아 왕
Thank you, Ms. Eugenia Wang. As a participant, and also as a student, also as a young architect, you made a great contribution to the construction of the park, and also it was quite an impressive remark.
과의 관계자들도
All of us here, including myself, were overwhelmed because all the participants who were part of these projects as students are now architects and actively working in their field. I feel quite proud of you. And also, back in 2010, we met 26 students from 7 countries, and we stayed for a month together in order to construct this park in Jeju Island. It was quite an experience for myself as well. Going forward, I think the Jeju Provincial Government Office will also contribute to the creation and development of the park in Jeju.
아무튼
So today we had a chance to talk about 6 parks in the region. So challenges and their ambitions were shared. Before we conclude the session, I'd like to invite Ms. Yekaterina Chagrandina once again. Her keynote speech was quite impressive, but if you'd like to ask any questions or make some feedback, we'd like to open it up for a Q&A session. Just one question. Please identify yourself.
Hello, I'm Kim, one of the MZ generation in Jeju Island, and I'm running a small social science research institute. It's an honor to meet you all for me. So I'd like to ask everyone who's been here. But today I would like to ask Madam Yekaterina Zagladina, Secretary General of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureate. In my personal view, I believe that MZ generations are essential for the sustainability of peace because MZ generations will lead the future. It would be even more motivating if the MZ generations was given the opportunity to learn wisdom by talking to global experts such as all the people here in order to quench the thirst of the MZ generation with the same thoughts as mine. Please advise the way for young people around the world to participate in the peace agenda or global peace solidarity activities for MZ generations. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I would like to apologize for the technical problems on my side. So regarding the generations, like I always say, we shall not split the generations because the wisdom which is acquired by the previous generations is belonging to any next generation, which means that this experience from previous generations shall help next generations to not to repeat the same mistakes and to capitalize on that experience. Therefore, I would say that having any concrete advice for a particular generation is not something that I would go for. I would say that even we shall eliminate a little bit this definition of generation because we influence our future from the present. And in present, there are a lot of generations in one time. And a lot of generations influence the future. The older generation, the younger generation, they work together on the future. There is nothing that shall be delayed from the current moment. Therefore, it's really important to take everyone's talents at maximum. And I agree that when people identify their talents, especially when they are working in a peacemaking, that it's really important that they get together, they join and create alliances, they create groups, networks. Each group can have own initiative, own identity. And it's important to see this diversity because when there is some agenda which was created for peace, for example, 20 years ago, it might be obsolete today. Therefore, it's a very living organism. It's a very living notion, which is always in the present. Therefore, for younger people, I could say that taking my experience with many Nobel Peace Laureates, when I have been working with them, listening to them, I can say they all acted from the moment when the situation comes. They were aiming to resolve the situation in a peace manner, with love, compassion, and what I can say, they showed always not some agenda, but an instinct call for peace, an instinct call for to put the life of a human or of a living being at a greater level. Therefore, it's really important that young people understand that all of us are one, that we are together, we are working together. Yes, young people have a little bit less experience, but they can have talents that older generations don't have. And that shall be a great mixture of talents and experience. What I would say, always you need to follow your heart. Sometimes agendas, as I said, are very rigid, and they are created by someone. But my question is whether you are willing to take responsibility of what someone told you to do. Maybe you have a better idea and you are ready to implement it better. But it's also important to consider that when you create alliances, when you create any kind of peace initiative, that you take responsibility of what you do, meaning that all the consequences that are created from your actions shall be then taken with responsibility. And this is also a very interesting point, that you create your own future through your actions, through your ideas, and you take responsibility for that future. It's not always that someone shall tell you what to do. You can take this initiative and you can really influence the globe and the world and the state of things in the world and global peace. Thank you.
Thank you for your insightful speech. We are slightly behind the schedule, so we wanted to learn more from you, but due to the constraints in time, we have to finish soon. And in the first half of the session, the solidarity and support were talked about from the perspective of the Pacific Rim, and now we will have another session.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as was mentioned, before we close this session, we have the panelists from the 7 cities, from the Pacific Rim parks, who have expressed their wishes to support the joint agreement on the establishment of the Global Peace Cities Solidarity that was signed in the previous session. So, reflecting their wishes, we also want to prepare a special event. So allow me to now recite the statement. I, James Hubble, express the support for Global Peace Cities Solidarity proposed and built by Jeju's Special Self-Governing Province, Republic of Korea, as a member of Pacific Rim Park by taking the opportunity of participating into the 16th Jeju Forum for Peace and Prosperity to build a network for sustainable peace and exclusive prosperity, June 25th, 2021. And so with that, I'd like to ask all of our panelists to please sign in their respective papers and support pages. I will give you a little bit of time for you to sign, and once you are done, we will seal the deal with a commemorative photo shoot. Are you all ready? Have you signed the paper? Okay, then we will take a group commemorative photo. So if you can, please hold up your document like this right next to your face, and we will be able to take a group photo all together. Yes, I can see all of the documents very clearly, and of course our panelists and moderator as well. Please smile for the camera. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen in the hall, please give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I hope that you have taken a screenshot of yourselves as well. If not, we will be able to send the photos to you. Last but not least, I would like to give the floor now to President Kyle Bergman for a few remarks, and then later on back to the floor.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank everyone for being involved, and I want to remind people that although we are architects and builders and we make parks, what's really important is the process of what we do. Although we're trying to create something beautiful, and we hope to do that, that the making of it is just as important. And so I just want to say that although the park in Russia is no longer physically there, the heart and soul of what made it happen is still there and still strong. And we will build another park in Vladivostok, and that it's okay. Although it is sad to lose the physical project, it can't take away what we all learned from doing it. And so it's the process of what we're doing. And we will lose other parks and gain other parks throughout the time. And what we learn from this is working together and continuing to work together and getting over challenges and struggles. Because we all have challenges and we all face difficult times in our personal life, in the life of the park, in our communities, and in our countries. And that's okay, that's normal. But it's how do we deal with those, and how do we get past those, and how do we get to the other side of those challenges and the conflicts. And what we hope to show by building the parks together is that we can work together, even if we have differences, even if there's other conflicts and concerns. And that's really what builds peace. What builds peace is being able to work together in challenging times. And as citizens, as governments, there's sometimes challenges that citizens don't always have. And so the critical thing and the opportunity, what we bring as a community and as a Pacific Rim family, is the ability to get past the noise of larger issues and get face to face and build human connections. And that's where peace starts from. It starts from us as humans and connects us. So I just want to say that it is not, we all have the challenges, is how do we deal with them? And Jeju has led by this an example. They've done a great job. It's the island of peace for a reason. The people in Jeju understand the tragedies that have happened before, and they looked at those tragedies head on and said, we can either be destroyed by them or they can build us stronger. And I think the island of Jeju is really strong because they've been able to look at those and move forward. And I think the Pacific Rim Park organization becomes stronger when we have these challenges and we go past them. And we're currently looking at projects in Panama City, in Panama. We're going to redo the park in Vladivostok. We're looking at projects in New Zealand, and we will continue to build together and make those connections for a long time. And eventually, we hope there is a park connecting the entire Pacific Rim. And on one hand, we are small little elements that touch the Pacific, but you could also look at this as the biggest park in the world because we span across the Pacific Ocean. And so I just want to tell everyone to stay positive. Peace is possible. And as citizens, we have to make that, we have to believe in that, and we have to make that happen. And so I want to thank Jeju Forum for Peace and Prosperity for continuing to keep peace in the forefront as a focus. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your encouraging words. Working together in challenging times is the way to build peace. I believe that was the gist of his comments as well. And now over to Professor Ko for any final comments. 네, 마무리 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
시간이 거의 다 됐습니다. 짧게.
In the interest of time, I'll make it simple. Peace is something we should build together. Otherwise, we cannot create peace nor protect peace. So, this city members conference will continuously participate in the process of discussion for the creation of peace in Jeju Island. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for such a passionate and, of course, fruitful session today. That is the end of the Pacific Rim Parks City Members Conference. When you're having a great time, time usually flies, but unfortunately, it is time for us to close the session. Thank you once again to all of our panelists, as well as our moderator and our participants here, online and offline. I hope that you will stay safe and healthy and have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.